Hey guys, Brent Hull Build Show, talking today about carving. Now, before you skip over this video because you never use carving, I want to challenge you that carving can transform your building, elevate your style, elevate your craftsmanship, right? A lot of great challenges, a lot of things I've learned over the last 6 months with Vassilar carver. Come join me. All right, guys, if you remember, Vassilar is a carver from the Ukraine, a master craftsman. He came over here on an O1 visa. I've known him for 10 years, visited him in the Ukraine. We tried to get him over here for years, but it wasn't until we kind of went the O1 visa path. Now, the O1 visa is what hockey players and ballerinas from Russia and Eastern Bloc countries come over here to get into the United States. So to get an O1 visa as a carver, he's just a master, and the masterpieces behind me kind of explain and express, his ability to carve the human figure. I mean, his ability to carve anything, right? And so the helmet and the plume and all that are made out of wood. It's amazing, right? And so I want to show you some of the moldings that we've been carving and working on, and what I've learned in this journey. I think it'll surprise you. I've talked before about the difference between good and great. It's like 1/8 of an inch. Well, it really is. We had these two ionic capitals, right? One kind of straight from a machine and then one hand carved. And what we're trying to do, what we're trying to express is just how that a little bit more depth in here, a little bit of this gouging that's showing up, expresses this handmade kind of nature of this thing, and this just is more beautiful than this. Although they're both nice, right? The carving kind of adds an element of detail that is more expressive and is more beautiful. We've also been looking around for, inspirational things to carve. Sometimes his carving in the Ukraine ended up being ecclesiastical and kind of different than Western carving, right? And so we started to try to build a repertoire of English, French, and classical carvings, right, that would have shown up. So one of the things we found was at the Philadelphia Museum, there was a header over top of a doorway, and it just had this, a really pretty cornice with an architrave and a frieze, but the frieze was carved, right? And so we, on our mantle, basically said, hey, could you carve this kind of detail here? And he made these overlays, right, for the top of this thing, and the change in detail, right, how this elevates this mantle now just kind of by 10 expresses what carving can do, right? Carving can really change the way we feel about a mantle, okay, or a door header or something like that. Carving is something that's, you don't do everywhere, in my opinion. It's expressive, and it might be something you use just to elevate something. I know our clients with their generational homes wanting to, pass things on, carving can be something that really does that. Another thing is just these moldings here, right? These are Kuchen moldings, and we took them, and then I just had Vassilar carve details into the back side of them. And just the way that it changes something very plain to something beautiful and expressive is pretty crazy to me, right? It's pretty amazing to me that how my perception of this changes as he gouges, the leaves and the details in here. One of the other things I've learned is that carving is a very expressive tool, okay? And it's almost more expressive of the craftsman than it is of the client. The craftsman is integrating beauty into his designs. And so I've come away from it thinking, this isn't just something that, rich people throw into their house. This is something that's an expressive from the craftsman as well. And as we've studied moldings, and I'll give you a good example, we have learned that there is many different ways of doing this and of expressing these moldings. The example is this incredible house in South Carolina with this ballroom with over-the-top moldings and over-the-top details. They have a doorway with this Corinthian capital and these beautiful moldings. And we just said, you know what, let's just capture some of these moldings and let's carve some up, because the shapes are very familiar to us. The architrave, the frieze, the cornice, the modillions, right? But they're expressed beautifully with these carvings. And so part of our effort here was to study these moldings and see what we could learn. And here's a good example, okay? This is a door opening and a door header, but look what the way they've carved in here, okay? They have not just done a bead and reel, it's a bead and reel with a leaf detail, right? And this is bracketed, and notice the order here. It's not like on these moldings, these are random, right? There's actually this bead, right? Bead and reel, right? That we've got here. These beads actually line up each time with the egg, okay? And talk about layout, right? On the corners, there's not just an egg and dart that just rolls around the corner. There's actually a leaf detail carved in here. So anytime these things meet, there's a pretty detail here. And realize that as a craftsman, you have to lay this out, right? This isn't just, oh yeah, I'm just going to dot, dot, dot. It's actually, okay, there's carefully, it's got to lay out. This has to line up in the middle, still line up with this bead. And all these other elements come together, and you realize the craft and the careful study and careful layout that happens with carving. If we look back at this bracket and this door header, notice that we've got a center line here with this little rope detail here, and it runs up all the way through here, lines up with this egg, and then lines up with this leaf detail. Either side of the leaf detail, we have this kind of strap work detail, right? This isn't just, I need an egg and dart, 50 feet long. This is capturing this whole overhead and integrating new designs into the moldings, which make it even better and more beautiful. What do I want you to do with moldings? One is I want you to understand the difference between the bad stuff out there today versus the original stuff. And so, I was just at the big box stores, and I've got this embossed molding. Now, an embossed molding is there's a big hot wheel that runs across this thing and presses and pushes this indention into here, okay? So those little brown spots, that's burning, right? That's where it's actually burning the wood as it goes across. You see the leaf detail here, and then you compare that with this leaf detail here, right? And so this is a leaf and dart, and that's a leaf and dart, right? And so the reason why I think a lot of people don't want carvings on their jobs today is because they're terrible. If you buy carvings at a box store, don't put them in your house, okay? It's a simple rule, right? It's being made as cheaply and as quickly and as fast as possible, and therefore it's not laid out, it's not carefully crafted, it's not thought about, right? It's an afterthought. And so realize that a lot of our clients don't ask for carvings because there aren't many examples of good carvings to look at. And so encourage your clients, if they want to do that, right, to go look at historical examples and find some precedent for great design so that you can re-execute it. It doesn't go everywhere. I talked about hierarchy before, and I've talked about that, the classical system teaches you to go, okay, well, this is an important room, I'm going this way. Low headers, no casing, I'm not going that way. Same thing with carvings. When you arrive at a space, you know where you are. You're in a very elevated room, you're in a very beautiful room, all this hand carving, all this detail. It's a spectacle, and you look around and you just go, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. How can you get there? And there are some good carvers in America that you can use, but try to approach carving a little bit at a time, learn a little bit. Look, I've known Vassilar for 10 years. He's been here for 6 months, and I'm still learning, right? I'm still gathering and understanding how this is supposed to be used and what its purpose is and when to use it, right? So carving, guys, for me is something that I'm on a journey of learning, right? And learning about the old ways of building, the lost art of building. I'm learning that with carving, right? There are things about building which I love that you never stop learning. And so as I dig into this, I realize that there's an egg and dart, and then there's a good egg and dart, right? And then there's genius egg and dart, right? And so we've been playing around with this good fake stuff sometimes, and when I see this and when we've studied it and look at it, it's just, takes our building, takes our craft to a higher level, and that's what's so much fun about this process. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, especially with the carving, because we do a lot of behind the scenes stuff with Vassilar, showing the stuff that he's carving and how it magically transforms it from something okay to something just out of this world. I'm Brent Hull, thanks for watching.